Mark, isn't it? Freddy.
Oh my God, you've seen him too. Wake up, wake up. Who are you?
Remember me?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my final Nightmare on Elm Street franchise review, and it is the 2010 remake of the classic 1984 A Nightmare on Elm Street. The film is directed by Samuel Bayer and it stars Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy. We have Rooney Mara as Nancy, we have Kyle Gallner, we have Katie Cassidy, Thomas Dekker and Kellen Lutz. Right, okay, well we know the story really here. There is a group of teenagers on Elm Street who are being pursued in their dreams by the frightening and evil Freddy Krueger, who has a deep connection to all of these teenagers from their past. And it's up to the kids to figure out the missing pieces of their past, find a way to fight Freddy Krueger. Right, what are my thoughts on this reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it? Let's be honest, it's a remake. Well, I think it's fair to say that horror fans and certainly Nightmare on Elm Street fans don't have a lot of love for this film, and it is quite easy to see why. They made a lot of poor decisions here when they put this film together. Now, I'm going to give you as balanced a review as I can here, because I after rewatching this, and it is a while since I've seen it, after rewatching it, I don't quite think this is just the disaster that it's made out to be, but at the same time, I don't think it's particularly good either. I think they made some decisions here that absolutely crippled the film. And it does baffle me when you actually sit and analyse why they did it. Right, okay, let's go through a lot of the things that don't work here in this film, and we could go on for a while because there's a lot of stuff that don't work. So I'll try and be a bit focused on it. I think the casting's poor for a start. You could understand why Jackie Earle Haley was cast as Freddy Krueger, or it makes sense on paper. The practicalities of it don't work. For a lot of reasons. The voice isn't menacing. The frame isn't menacing, and I know Robert Englund's frame was never menacing, but his body performance kind of made up for that. You know what I mean? The way his physicality, Robert Englund. He was creepy with how he moved and stuff. And we don't really get that physical performance here from Jackie Earle Haley. It's more of a menacing performance. And the only compliment I can really give him in his performance is when he's actually swinging for them with the claws. He's doing it with some absolute power and menace, and you really get the impression that those claws are going to absolutely seriously do some damage if they touch you. And there were times in the original franchise where they looked and seemed a little flimsy, and there wasn't an awful lot of power behind them. But in this, you get that impression. But that's the only real compliment I can give really for this performance for Freddy Krueger. It just doesn't work, and he's not helped by the makeup. It just doesn't look good at all. Doesn't look scary or menacing. It's just not good. A lot of the creative decisions that went into Freddy Krueger didn't work, full stop. And that the same goes really for much of the cast here. Rooney Mara as Nancy. We know Rooney Mara is a talented actress. I think this was one of her breakout roles, if you can call it that. I don't think she's very keen on the film. That's fairly well documented. Yeah. I'll leave it up to you. Do you think she's anywhere near as memorable as Heather Langenkamp? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, not at all. I think the only one here who I thought did a good job and was quite a memorable character was Katie Cassidy's character. who was essentially Tina in this film, even though she wasn't called Tina. You know, the fake final girl sort of thing. Other than that, I don't think anybody was memorable. And that's me being genuine. I just thought they were poorly written and unmemorable for the most part, apart from one, in my opinion anyway. At times, this film was almost shot for the original. There are times where it copies it almost to the letter, and you just kind of like, oh please, a bit of originality. And then they change things in the film that they should never have changed. It's like the things they needed to change, they didn't. You know, like the hand coming out of the bath. We don't need to see that again. It's an iconic scene. Be different. And a lot of the other scenes, you know, where they kind of copied the original, that some of the death scenes and things like that, you know, with the fake Tina sort of thing in this film. And other stuff. They needed to change some of the things in this film, and they didn't. They kept them the same. And the stuff they did change, they never should have changed. For example, the backstory of Freddy Krueger. There is just no defending that decision. In the original, he's a child killer. He kills, is it over 20 children? It's more than that, I think. That's an evil bastard. That is an absolute... There's no redeeming that person at all. Whereas in this film, he's a child molester. And at one point in the film, a potentially innocent child molester. Okay, I'm not here to defend child molesters, because they're obviously little bastards. But it doesn't compare to child murderer. It just doesn't. There's no comparison. So why they chose to make that decision, that creative decision, whoever made that decision wants a good old slap across the chops, because it was a chronic decision. And it just took whatever menace was left for Freddy Krueger in this film, and they just, you know, sprinkled it over a dung heap somewhere. Terrible, terrible decision. But the production values are fantastic. You know, it's obviously got a good budget behind it. There are some other interesting ideas that they have in there, like the sleeping pill, that you kind of see a little bit in like the Freddy vs. Jason. That pill suppresses dreams. Well, this pill doesn't suppress dreams. It kind of keeps you awake, sort of thing. So there are some interesting ideas that they play around with here, and it's a highly polished film. There's no doubt about it, and it feels like it's got massive, strong production values going on. So you could see that they really wanted to make, you know, a really nicely budgeted film here. I can't understand or defend some of the decisions here in this film. And I actually thought as well the opening to the film was a strong opening. You know, in the diner with Kellen Lutz. I thought that was a fairly strong opening to the movie. And it felt different to the original, different enough to the original sort of thing. And I thought some of the dream sequences were nicely done, and the effects were of a very, very high standard. So, yeah, obviously there is a lot wrong with this film. Do I think it is as bad? You know, I mean, most people will put this right at the bottom of their list when it comes to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And I get it, I really do. You know, there's not a massive amount of redeeming features here in this. But, in my opinion, it's still better than, you know, Freddy's Dead, for sure. That film was almost unwatchable in many, many ways. So, yeah, not great. A poor way to end the franchise. I hope one day we do get a reboot worthy, or a remake worthy of the franchise, and we do hopefully one day see another Nightmare on Elm Street film and Freddy Krueger returning to the cinema. Let me know in the comments, guys, who you would think would make a really good Freddy Krueger if they do decide to bring the character back. And I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel. I'm going to move on to another horror franchise to review next, so stay tuned for that. I may well put the review for that up this weekend, or whenever I put this up, which is probably going to be this weekend. So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed me doing my reviews for the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I certainly enjoyed revisiting the franchise, and of course please join me back on the channel for plenty more content coming soon.